in their common presences under the influence of data crystallized in them from the consequences of the properties of the, for them, accursed organ Kundabuffer. Then you, I am sure, after such a practical demonstration on this piano, will have not only an approximate representation concerning all what are called some obtained from the other and harmoniously flowing gravity center vibrations, but likewise you will constate once more, with the impulse of astonishment, to what an extent there is weakened in the common presences of these favorites of yours the essence of the action of those being data which in general are proper to be crystallized in the presences of all three-brained beings, and the totality of which is called quickness of instinct. And so, my boy, thanks on the one hand to the infallibly continuing deterioration in the common presences of these three-brained beings who have taken your fancy, of the quality of the functioning of the data crystallized in them for healthy being mentation, and on the other hand, to the always increasing number among them being formed into responsible beings of the mentioned new types, namely of learned beings of new formation, there ultimately reached the contemporary three-brained beings of this ill-fated planet from this detailed totality of information, already thoroughly cognized by the reason of former beings similar to them, and almost unprecedented everywhere in the universe among ordinary three-brained beings, and which had gradually begun to change, namely the totality of that true information which today is already used for the welfare of ordinary three-brained beings everywhere on the planets of our great megalocosmos, with the exception of the beings of only that planet on which this totality of information arose, only that which our always esteemed Mullah Nazar ad-Din defines by the following words: "Glory to thee, Lord Creator, for having made the teeth of wolves not like the horns of my dear buffalo, for now I can make several excellent combs for my dear wife." And with particular regard to the Chinese seven-tone subdivision of the octave, which has reached down to your contemporary favorites, then although, as I've already said, they use it widely in the process of their ordinary existence, yet at the same time they do not even suspect that such a subdivision was specially created and constructed on those sound principles on which everything existing in the whole of our great megalocosmos is maintained. If one does not consider that insignificant number of three-brained beings of certain small groups who existed on the continent Asia, and who instinctively sensed the hidden meaning of this Chinese division of a whole sound into 7 definite centers of gravity, and reproduced it practically, exclusively only during such being manifestations of theirs as they considered sacred, then one may boldly say that in the presences of almost all the three-brained beings who arose on this planet of yours during recent centuries, the data for the cognizance of the altitude of thought and meaning put into this subdivision have already entirely ceased to be crystallized. But the contemporary three-brained beings there who breed on this same continent Asia, as well as on all other terra firma of the surface of this planet of yours, having already lost every kind of instinctive feeling, all without exception use it for the satisfaction of only certain of their low purposes unbecoming to three-brained beings. What is most interesting, however, of all the history related by me concerning the cognizance of the sacred law of Heptaparaparshinokh by three-brained beings who bred on your planet, and which concerns chiefly the contemporary beings, is that although a great number of all kinds of totalities of special information, or as they themselves express it, separate branches of scientific knowledge again arose among them at the present time, and began by them, so to say, to be learned by rote. Yet concerning the law of vibrations, which branch is the most important, and which gives the possibility, though approximately, of recognizing reality, there is among them absolutely nothing. If, of course, one does not reckon that celebrated what is called theory of sound, which arose comparatively recently and which is seriously studied, and, as it were, known by their contemporary, as they are called, learned physicists and learned musicians. In order that you may, so to say, illuminatingly project the essence of your contemporary favorites, and in view of the fact that the causes of the arising of various misunderstandings widely spread among certain of your favorites in the sphere of this branch of knowledge there are very characteristic and might serve you as excellent material in general for the representation and valuation of the sense and objective significance of all other contemporary separate independent branches of their what is called exact science. I consider it necessary to explain to you in greater detail which theories concerning the vibrations of sound are studied and, as it were, are known by these mentioned contemporary terrestrial sorry scientists. But before speaking about this, my essence again enjoins the whole of my common presence to express my sincere condolence on the fate of all contemporary terrestrial three-brained beings, who, thanks to their persevering being partic duty, peculiar to them, finally attain to the state of that degree of reason when it becomes inevitable for them to have in their presences also the data of the genuine information relating to the law of vibrations. About this, I, by association at the present moment, remember with the impulse of regret, because at the period of my last sojourn among them, I happened more than once to meet those three-brained beings there who, according to their state of, so to say, psychic perfection, ought of necessity to absorb and transmute in themselves just the true information concerning the law of vibrations. And at the same time, I clearly understand that they could not extract such information from anywhere. There is indeed among them at the present time such a totality of information, or as they themselves name it, a theory of vibrations. Yet the mentioned unfortunate contemporary beings who are in need of this information cannot, in spite of their wishes and efforts, obtain anything tolerably satisfactory for their searchings, except various misconceptions and contradictions. And so, my boy, the basis for the arising of such terrestrial misunderstandings was that various fragments of information concerning the law of vibrations reached contemporary beings from two independent sources, namely from those same ancient Chinese and from those ancient Greeks, about whom, you remember, I have already told you that their community was formed there long ago between the continents of Asia and Europe by those Asiatic fishermen who, out of boredom during bad weather, invented various sciences, among which was just this science of the vibrations of sound. And this science of theirs, later, also passing from generation to generation, reached your contemporary favorites almost simultaneously with the said Chinese science. All subsequent misunderstandings began with this, that in the information which had reached them from the ancient Chinese, it was shown that the whole octave of